Hi guys, welcome back to the 12 Days of Foundation. Today we are on day number 9 and we're talking about some drugstore foundation. Covergirl historically has made some of my absolute favorite foundations. The 3-in-1 Outlast was probably the foundation that I've run through the most because that was when I discovered that I had oily skin at the time and it was the only thing that didn't melt off of my face. So really excited today to review a fairly new foundation from them. It is the Outlast Active Foundation. This has an SPF of 20 in here. And if you have missed the first 8 days, be sure to check those out. They will be linked down below, but let's go ahead and get started. So this foundation kind of falls in that whole like active foundation thing that happened a little while back, or the active wear makeup, which like, I guess it depends what you're doing and obviously like your personal preference, but for me, like I don't even wear anything on my face when I go to the gym, not even brow gel, not even mascara. I just don't feel comfortable. I sweat a lot, rubbing my face with a towel, and it just seems like messy. But I do love the idea of a foundation being like long lasting, sweat proof, etc, etc. And if you do want to wear makeup while you exercise, it's cool that there are some options out there. But for me, I'm just going to be testing it out like a regular foundation today because that's how I would wear it. Depending on where you pick this up in Canada, on the Shoppers Drug Mart website, it's retailing for $11.99. In the States, it says it's about $8.99 on Walmart. I actually bought this in the US when I was in Buffalo a little while back before it launched in Canada, and I figured I would give it a try. I'm wearing 862 Natural Tan. So there is 16 different shades, which is pretty good. Their Matte Made foundation, which they came out with a little while back, had an amazing shade range, great undertones. That's something I recommend to people all the time. So this is like a decent range, and I feel like overall Covergirl has started to do a better job making less pink foundations, because their foundations were always very pink for a little while there, but I feel like they've definitely made some improvements. This claims to be 24-hour wear, which like it's a bit much, but sweat proof, transfer proof, humidity proof, oil free, won't clog pores, and like I mentioned, it does have an SPF of 20, and it's listed here in Canada and in the United States as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime half of my face. I'm gonna do again kind of like for the NYX video, I did kind of like a full face of Covergirl or NYX, so I'm going to do Covergirl today, and that will be on my Instagram coming up shortly. I'm going to use their pore minimizing primer. They have a ton of primers. They also launched one that has an SPF of 20 in there, but I'm going to stick to the pore minimizing. That is one of my favorites, so I'm going to prime and I'll be right back. So I took out about this much to apply to my face because it's in a squeezy tube. I've been telling you like how many pumps I'm using just to make it more clear how much foundation is going on my face, because that's really going to affect things like coverage and wear. I'm going to use a brush today just to mix it up. No particular reason. I have used this with a sponge. Oh, bless you. Emily's sneezing. But yeah, I have a special place in my heart for Covergirl. They're a brand that I've been using forever. They're just an iconic brand in general. But I've always loved their foundations. Like, they have so many good ones. Like I said, the 3-in-1 Outlast Active, or no, sorry, that's what I'm reviewing today. The 3-in-1 Outlast was a favorite of mine for years. Then I loved the Clean Matte BB. I loved the Ready Set Gorgeous. I loved the Matte Made. I loved the Healthy Skin. I think they got rid of the Healthy Skin, or they're going to be, which is sad because that's a nice one. Actually, in Canada, it's not called Healthy Skin. It's called something else. You're not allowed to call it healthy in Canada. But yeah, I think they do a really good job. The only thing I didn't like that they did was concealers, and they've since come out with a concealer that I like, that I'm going to use today, the True Blend Undercover. Otherwise, I hated all the other concealers they had. I just felt like they were super watery. And just like they were kind of pointless. It was like, it wasn't even like they were light coverage, they just kind of disappeared. And I haven't seen much about this foundation. Like, I honestly don't really watch many foundation reviews unless I'm trying to match myself, because I review foundations myself and I want it to be my own opinion. But even like in looking on websites and stuff, like I didn't see this on Ulta. Their website only says like a little bit. Shoppers Drug Mart only says like a little blurb about it. It doesn't really say anything about coverage or finish or anything like that, but that's all I'm going to put on my face today. So I think it looks really beautiful on the skin. It looks natural. It has like a nice light medium coverage. I didn't put a ton on my face, and it kind of reminds me of like a tinted moisturizer at this level of coverage. Like, honestly, I think tinted moisturizers are just light coverage foundations with maybe a little bit more moisturizer in them. I feel like the tinted moisturizers now are more like light coverage foundations. Back in the day, they were more like moisturizers. They were very, very light coverage, but now I feel like people throw around the word tinted moisturizer and it could easily just be the same consistency as a light coverage foundation, and I'm moisturizing my face anyways. But that's not the point. I think it looks really, really pretty. Something to keep in mind though, where this does have different shades than some of their other ranges, because there are less of them, you may not be as easily able to be like, oh, I'm classic tan, so I'm classic tan in this, etc., etc. And the packaging has that kind of like fake out color, which I would prefer just to be able to see the shade in there for a drugstore foundation, especially because it can be harder. But always, always, always just look up a ton of reviews. Maybe that's what you're here doing now, to try and match yourself. But yeah, I think it looks really, really pretty. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of my makeup, take some flash photos, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I have mostly a full face of Covergirl on, and it should actually be noted, if you don't check the description box of my videos, I have been wearing the Covergirl Outlast All Day Powder in every single one of these reviews. It's one of my favorite powders. I think it's just one of the best powders out there, drugstore or not. They do have new packaging now. And then also another staple from Covergirl is this liquid lipstick. I wear this all the time. Like if I lost this, I'd go out and purchase it immediately. It is the Melting Pout Matte in Coral Chronicles. I have it paired with the ColourPop lip liner, but it's just my everyday go-to shade. I really, really love it. So stay tuned for this tutorial coming out on Instagram, but I think this looks really beautiful. I love the way that it feels. I think the shade match is good. I think it looks nice and on the more natural side in terms of finish. And yeah, it feels really, really good. It's kind of confusing because Covergirl keeps like seeming like they're discontinuing things, and I don't know what's being discontinued, what's not. It changes in Canada and the United States, but this is one of their newer offerings because, like I said, I have reviewed the Ready Set Gorgeous and the Matte BB. They're both great, but they also come in a lot less shades too. I think they only have about 6 or 7 shades in each. They may have extended it actually in the Matte BB. I think they repackaged that, but I think they got rid of the Ready Set Gorgeous. But anyways, this is a nice available option that I wanted to review. So I'll continue. Oh, the flash photos. Oh my god. What's going on here? So for flash photos, I thought it looked good here in my lighting. You can see there's a little bit of a sheen to my skin, but nothing too shiny. And then in flash photos, considering there is an SPF of 20 in the foundation, I thought it looked really good as well. And there was no major like white cast on my face or anything like that. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wear this for a few hours, and I will check back with you in some natural light. Coming to you with my midday check-in. You can see my setup here in the reflection of my bedroom, but I'm wearing my hat because I just got in from going out for a little walk, went to HomeSense and the grocery store. The perfect Saturday, if you ask me, listening to my podcast. But I figured we would take a look at what my hat looks like and what my hair looks like. I should have brought over a mirror. I do have a little bit of transfer, just a smidge. Sorry if you can hear my air fryer, by the way. Besides some dents in my forehead, I don't think it like removed any foundation. Nothing has oxidized or moved around. Lost a little bit around my nose. You lose a little bit on my nose every time, and my nose is running from being outside. But yeah, I really like this. I haven't actually worn it in a while. I wore it a bunch when I first got it to test it out in the hopes of reviewing it, and then I never got around to reviewing it. So yeah, things look really good, and I used the concealer as a primer for my eyeshadow, and I think you can see that's all still in place and whatnot as well. I did put a lip mask over the lipstick, so that's why it's not on anymore. But yeah, things look really good. Lunch is going to be ready momentarily, so I'm going to do that, and then I'll check back with you this evening. So here we are at the end of the day, and I've had this foundation on for a very long time, almost 12 hours now. I was just Skyping with one of my best friends. She's in Barcelona for her birthday, and we ended up on FaceTime for like 2 hours. So it's a little bit later than I had expected. But yeah, things look awesome. I really love this foundation. Like I said earlier, I don't watch a ton of foundation reviews because I try to keep my opinions to myself and just have my opinions be my opinions. So I don't know if people just aren't talking about this or I'm not watching the right people to review it, but I think this is a really nice foundation. I'm a little bit shiny, so I will blot. But yeah, I've had this foundation on for a long time. I have not touched up. The primed side actually looked more matte. I don't know if it's because maybe I touched this side of my face and I had the hat on earlier. It did not oxidize. It's a good shade match. My blush and bronzer are still in place. You can see how good of a job that concealer did as a primer as well. Like if you have oilier eyelids, consider using a concealer that you like on your eyelids, because I find sometimes they can do an even better job than an eyeshadow primer. Just don't put down too much. But yeah, I really love this. I'm absolutely going to continue wearing it. I love that it is from the drugstore. And I really, you know, like I said, historically loved CoverGirl's foundations. This is going to be a more natural finish than their matte made foundation, because that one is more matte. But otherwise, and it has like a little bit more of a slightly thicker texture, not on the face, but in terms of the actual texture than the matte made. And I haven't worn the matte BB or Ready Set Gorgeous in a while, but I will link those down below. But either way, this is gonna have a better shade range too. If you're super oily, I would probably still go with the matte made because it's matte. But this is a really beautiful natural finish. I feel like it's nice and long wearing, and I really like the way that it looks. And I had something else that I wanted to say. I can't totally remember. I guess it wasn't that important. I'm sure it'll come to me right after I turn the camera off. But yeah, I think this is a really beautiful foundation, and I really, really like, sometimes like my blush and bronzer and stuff will stick around, but like it really stuck around. And I'm wearing a CoverGirl blush today, CoverGirl bronzer, CoverGirl highlight. And yeah, this is basically a full face all drugstore, and I think, you know, it looks phenomenal. So if you have seen this around and you're like, I haven't really heard anything about it, blah, 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 I definitely recommend it. Again, if you are really oily, it's not going to be super oil combating, but I still think it did a good job, and I did get like a little bit oily, so it's going to depend on what you're looking for out of your foundation. But as always, you can, you know, make use of a setting spray. You can touch up with that CoverGirl powder that I mentioned earlier, but either way, I am super impressed. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!